Hello, and welcome to a behind-the-scenes look at the making of a women's suffrage Splendiferous Extravaganza, a new musical produced by the Pleiades Project that explores the ratification of the 19th Amendment, which granted many, but not all, American women the right to vote in 1920. My name is Noelle McMurtry, and I am a co-creator of AWSSE. Let me give you a sneak peek into our creative process as we rehearse at Alchemical Studios in New York City, as well as hear some thoughts about the making of our show from fellow co-creators November Christine and Caroline Miller.
Delighted as we step back in time over 100 years for a vaudeville show like no other. Watch in amazement as these valiant women fight for the right to vote. That's right, folks. The fate of the future hangs in the balance, and it's all up to you. Whose voice should count? Who is worthy to be heard?
So, when Noelle and Carly of the Pleiades Project approached me about teaming up to create a sort of opera musical theater hybrid project about the women's suffrage movement, I was all in. I was super excited to bring my perspective as a Black woman to a narrative that historically has left out women of color.
Well, does this come from you, who held the body as all the spirit is not? From you, who saw us only as a sex? Who did your worst and best to quench in us the spark and glow of the intellect? Who blew a jeer at the leap and glimmer of it and smothered it with laughter? This from you, who praised a simper far above a thought, who prized a dimple far beyond.
I love Alice Paul. I've loved reading about Alice Paul because she is like the OG firecracker. She went to England. She was a student there. She got swept up in the suffrage movement, and she was so effective that Pankhurst was like, I want her, please put her in. And she came home and she's like, this isn't activism. You're all sitting at your desks. She's like, they don't have to listen to us.
To force them to listen, embarrass and make them take note, to parade and to shame and compel them. Only strength will win us the vote.
I knew that we had Susan B. Anthony and Carrie Catt, our conservative activists, and Alice Paul's the foil. They were older when they were the most active. She was super young. They wanted to work within the system. She was like, pay attention to me. I'm not waiting around anymore.
I tried it your way, ma'am. Attended meetings led by committee.
I think we are constantly thinking, how can we bring humor into this? And I kind of loved I love the idea of her as the just like blunt force human. I'm just like, arr, you listen to me. And I was like, strong woman, there we go.
To parade and to shame and compel them. Only strength will win us the vote.
My interest in women's suffrage evolved out of another project that I was working on based on the early life of a woman named Ida B. Wells. Ida was a 19th century investigative journalist, a Black woman who used her skills as a writer and a speaker to expose the unjust murders or lynchings of Black women and men in the South. Through that research, I learned that that was just the beginning of Ida's legacy. Later in life, she would become a suffragist and be part of the fight for women's right to vote, most specifically advocating for Black women. Each of the women featured in our show has her own special vaudeville act. When I was conceiving of the character of Ida B. Wells, I had the idea of her being the tallest woman in the world. What connected me to that idea was Ida's position as a leader of her people in the early 19th century, how it must have been rather alienating and lonely for her, but also gave her a unique perspective. Whereas many of the women, especially the white women of the Women's Suffrage Act, were vying for the power and the position within the political machine, for Ida, it really wasn't about that. For her, it was always about the bigger picture.
Join us on November 5th and 6th at 7 p.m. at Alchemical Studios in New York City for staged readings of A Women's Suffrage Splendiferous Extravaganza. For more information, visit our website at www.thepleiadesproject.com. See you at the show.